Good evening. Tonight, you'll discover how snowflakes form in the clouds above, how animals survive the coldest nights, and how winter has shaped human culture for thousands of years. 100 facts about winter that will guide you into the most peaceful sleep. But first, if you want more journeys like this, subscribe to the channel and leave a like right now, because in just a few minutes, you'll be too relaxed to move. Now then, make yourself comfortable. Let your body sink into your bed. Close your eyes. Tonight, I invite you on a journey through the coldest season, through snow-covered forests and frozen lakes, through the quiet magic that happens when temperatures drop below freezing. 100 remarkable facts, told slowly, gently, without haste. You don't need to remember them. You don't need to analyze them. Just listen and let these words become part of your dreams. Breathe evenly, deeply, and we begin. Winter officially begins at the winter solstice in the Northern Hemisphere. This happens around December 21st. In the Southern Hemisphere, around June 21st. The winter solstice, from the Latin words meaning sun stands still, marks the shortest day and longest night of the year. On this day, the sun reaches its lowest point in the sky. The Earth's axis tilts furthest away from the sun, and for a brief moment, it seems as though time itself pauses. Ancient people watched this day with great attention. They built monuments to mark it. Stonehenge in England, Newgrange in Ireland, perfectly aligned to capture the solstice sunrise. They celebrated because they knew, from this day forward, the light would return. Day by day, minute by minute, the darkness would retreat. No two snowflakes are exactly alike. This isn't just poetry, it's science. Each snowflake forms around a tiny particle of dust or pollen, high in the atmosphere. As it falls through clouds, water vapor freezes onto this particle. Layer by layer, the shape the snowflake takes depends on temperature and humidity, at different levels of the atmosphere, at different moments in its fall. Since each snowflake follows a unique path through the clouds, encountering different conditions at different times, it develops its own distinctive pattern. Six-sided symmetry, yes, but infinite variation. Some snowflakes are simple hexagonal plates. Others are elaborate stellar dendrites, with branches extending like the limbs of tiny frozen trees. Still others are columns, needles, or irregular crystals. Each one a miniature work of art. Each one unique. Snow isn't actually white. Snow is translucent. Each individual ice crystal is clear, like glass. But snowflakes have many surfaces. Light enters, bounces around, reflects off countless facets. And because all wavelengths of light are reflected equally, our eyes perceive the color as white. Pure white. Brilliant white. Sometimes, at sunrise or sunset, snow can appear pink or orange, the crystals reflecting the colored light of the sky. Sometimes, in the shade of trees, snow looks blue, the ice absorbing red light, reflecting only the blue end of the spectrum. But mostly, snow is that perfect, peaceful white, the color of winter silence. Fresh snow can muffle sound. When snow first falls and hasn't been compacted, it contains a lot of air trapped between the crystals. This structure absorbs sound waves, like acoustic foam, like the padded walls of a recording studio. That's why winter nights can feel so quiet, so hushed. The world wrapped in a blanket of silence. Sound doesn't travel as far. Voices seem softer, footsteps are muffled, everything slows down, everything becomes gentler. But here's something interesting. Once snow becomes compacted, or turns to ice, the opposite happens. Hard-packed snow can actually amplify sound, make it travel further. That's why you can sometimes hear voices or footsteps from surprising distances, across frozen lakes or snow-covered fields. Winter contains both kinds of silence, the soft and the crystalline. The largest snowflake ever recorded was 15 inches wide. 15 inches, 38 centimeters. It fell in Montana in 1887 during a winter storm, witnessed and measured by a ranch owner named Matt Coleman. 15 inches across. Imagine that. Larger than a dinner plate. A single snowflake. Most snowflakes are between 1 and 5 millimeters, small enough to rest on your eyelash, delicate enough to melt from the warmth of your breath. But under the right conditions, with just the right temperature and humidity, snowflakes can cluster together, merge, form larger aggregates. These aren't technically single snowflakes. They're groups of snowflakes, frozen together, but they fall as one piece. Still, 15 inches, a snowflake you could hold in both hands. Snow can fall at temperatures above freezing. You might think snow requires below zero temperatures, but that's not quite true. Snow can fall when the surface temperature is as warm as 40 degrees Fahrenheit, about 4 degrees Celsius. How is this possible? Well, the snowflakes form high in the atmosphere, where it's cold enough for ice crystals to develop. As they fall through warmer air near the ground, they begin to melt. But if the air is dry enough, and the flakes are falling fast enough, they can reach the ground before completely melting. Wet snow, heavy snow, but snow nonetheless, though if the temperature rises much above this, the snow turns to sleet or rain. Winter, always a dance between freezing and melting. The fastest recorded snowfall rate is 4 to 6 inches per hour. 4 to 6 inches in just 60 minutes. This happens during intense lake effect snowstorms or in mountainous regions with orographic lift. Lake effect snow occurs when cold air moves over warmer lake water. The air picks up moisture and heat, rises rapidly, forms intense snow bands. Cities near the Great Lakes in North America, like Buffalo, can experience these storms. Snow accumulating so fast, you can watch it pile up in real time. 4 inches in an hour. By morning, 2 feet. By evening, 4 feet. Roads disappear. Cars become white mounds. The world transforms. But most snowfall is gentler, slower. 1/4 inch per hour, maybe 1/2 inch. Drifting down through the night, quietly building, until morning reveals a changed landscape. Antarctica is the coldest place on Earth. The lowest temperature ever recorded was minus 128.6 degrees Fahrenheit, minus 89.2 degrees Celsius. This was measured at the Soviet Vostok station in July 1983, minus 128 degrees. At that temperature, your breath freezes instantly. Exposed skin develops frostbite in minutes. Metal becomes brittle. Fuel gels. But even this record has been challenged. In 2013, satellite measurements suggested temperatures in East Antarctica may have dropped to minus 144 degrees Fahrenheit. At such extremes, carbon dioxide from the atmosphere can freeze, forming dry ice frost on the ground. It's hard to imagine such cold, hard to conceive of a place so hostile to life. And yet, Antarctica is beautiful. Vast ice sheets under brilliant blue skies, mountains of snow, glaciers flowing like frozen rivers, a winter that never ends. The Arctic Ocean is covered by sea ice that expands and contracts with the seasons. In summer, the ice retreats. In winter, it grows. At its maximum extent, Arctic sea ice covers about 6 million square miles, roughly the size of Antarctica. This ice is between 6 and 12 feet thick in most places, but in some areas, pressure ridges can push ice up to 40 feet high. The ice moves, drifts, cracks and refreezes, creating pressure ridges, leads of open water, and polynyas, areas of water surrounded by ice. Polar bears hunt on this ice. Seals rest on it. Arctic foxes traverse it. It's a dynamic landscape, always changing, always in motion. And each winter, it reforms. The ocean's surface cooling, crystals forming, spreading outward, until the Arctic becomes, once again, a continent of ice. Glaciers cover about 10% of Earth's land surface. Most of this ice is in Antarctica and Greenland, but glaciers exist on every continent except Australia. A glacier is not just frozen water, it's a river of ice, moving, flowing, under its own weight, slowly, perhaps only a few inches per year, perhaps several feet per day. The ice accumulates at the top, in the accumulation zone. Snow falls, compresses, turns to firn, a granular snow, then to glacial ice. This ice flows downhill, under gravity, carving valleys, scouring rock, carrying sediment. At the terminus, the glacier melts or breaks off into icebergs, calving. Glaciers shaped much of Earth's current landscape. During ice ages, they covered vast areas, grinding down mountains, carving the Great Lakes, creating fjords. Even now, they're sculpting the land, slowly, relentlessly. Permafrost is ground that remains frozen year-round, not just in winter, all year, for at least 2 consecutive years. Permafrost underlies about 1/4 of the northern hemisphere's land surface. In Alaska, northern Canada, Siberia, Mongolia, parts of Scandinavia, the top layer, the active layer, thaws in summer. Plants can grow, water can flow, but beneath, sometimes hundreds of feet down, the ground remains frozen, solid as concrete. Permafrost can be thousands of years old. Ice that formed during the last ice age, still frozen, preserved. Scientists have found intact woolly mammoth carcasses in Siberian permafrost, frozen for 10,000 years or more. Seeds preserved in permafrost have been successfully germinated after 32,000 years. It's a natural time capsule, a freezer preserving Earth's history. Lake Baikal in Siberia is the world's deepest lake, and in winter, it freezes over. The ice can be up to 6 feet thick, so thick, you can drive trucks across it. But the ice of Lake Baikal is special, crystal clear, like glass. You can see down through it, see the rocks below, the water beneath, and sometimes the ice forms in unique patterns. Pressure cracks create shards that stand upright, like miniature ice sculptures. Methane bubbles freeze in columns, trapped as they rise from the lake bottom. Locals call these formations ice hummocks and ice diamonds. Lake Baikal contains about 20% of the world's fresh surface water, and each winter, its surface transforms into this otherworldly frozen landscape. People ice skate on it, walk across it, camp on it, standing on clear ice, looking down into the depths. It's like walking on water, like floating above an abyss. The taiga, also called boreal forest, is the world's largest land biome. It stretches across northern Canada, Alaska, Scandinavia, and Russia. A vast belt of coniferous forest, spruce, pine, fir, larch. The taiga experiences long, cold winters, 6 months or more of snow and ice. Temperatures can drop to -65 degrees Fahrenheit. Yet life persists, adapted, resilient. Trees develop narrow, needle-like leaves to reduce water loss. Conifers retain their needles year-round. ready to photosynthesize whenever conditions allow. Snow accumulates on branches, weighs them down, but the conical shape of these trees helps snow slide off. In the deepest winter, the taiga is silent, still, frozen, but beneath the snow, beneath the frozen surface of the soil, life waits, seeds, roots, hibernating insects, all waiting for spring. The Arctic fox changes color with the seasons. In summer, its coat is brown or gray, helping it blend with tundra vegetation, but in winter, it turns pure white, the color of snow. This isn't just camouflage. The white winter coat is also thicker, denser, providing insulation against the cold. The Arctic fox has the warmest fur of any mammal. It can survive temperatures of -70 degrees Fahrenheit without shivering. Its small ears and short muzzle reduce heat loss. Its furry paws act like snowshoes, and its tail, bushy and thick, can wrap around its body like a blanket in the depths of winter when food is scarce. The Arctic fox follows polar bears, feeding on the remains of seal kills. It also caches food, buries it in the snow, remembers where, a survivor, perfectly adapted to winter's harshness. Reindeer, called caribou in North America, are the only deer species in which both males and females grow antlers, and they keep their antlers through the winter. Most deer species shed their antlers after the fall mating season, but reindeer, both sexes, retain them. Why? Female reindeer use their antlers to dig through snow, to access buried vegetation, lichens, mosses. They need their antlers in winter for survival. Reindeer also have special adaptations for walking on snow. Their hooves are large and concave, spreading their weight, acting like snowshoes. And in winter, the pads of their hooves shrink, exposing the sharp edges, providing traction on ice. Their noses warm the air before it reaches their lungs. Their eyes, adapted to see ultraviolet light, can spot lichen under snow. Every part of their body designed for winter. Penguins are birds that cannot fly, but they are expert swimmers, and they endure some of the harshest winters on Earth. Emperor penguins breed during the Antarctic winter, on sea ice, in temperatures that can drop to -40 degrees. After the female lays a single egg, she transfers it to the male. He balances it on his feet, covered by a flap of skin, for 2 months. While she's away feeding in the ocean, he incubates the egg through the darkest, coldest part of winter. He doesn't eat, doesn't move much, just stands, waiting. The males huddle together, thousands of them, packed tightly, rotating positions, those on the outside gradually moving inward, sharing warmth. When the chick hatches, the father feeds it with a milky substance from his throat. Then, finally, the mother returns. She takes over, and he can leave, swim, eat. It's one of nature's most remarkable displays of endurance. Many animals hibernate during winter. Hibernation is more than sleep. It's a state of reduced metabolism. Body temperature drops, heart rate slows, breathing becomes shallow. Ground squirrels, for example, can lower their body temperature to just above freezing. Their heart rate drops from 200 beats per minute to just 5. Bears, despite common belief, don't truly hibernate. They enter a lighter state called torpor. Their temperature drops only slightly. They can wake if disturbed, but their metabolism slows enough that they don't need to eat or drink for months. Some frogs freeze solid. Ice crystals form in their bodies. Their hearts stop beating. Yet in spring, they thaw and live. It's hard to imagine being frozen, clinically dead, then coming back to life. But for these creatures, it's simply winter. Snowy owls are one of the largest owl species, and they live in the Arctic. Unlike most owls, they hunt during the day, because in summer, the Arctic has 24-hour daylight, and in winter, 24-hour darkness. Snowy owls are heavily feathered. Even their feet are covered in feathers, like warm boots. They're white, with some dark barring, blending perfectly with snowy landscapes. Their primary prey is lemmings, small rodents that live under the snow. Snowy owls can hear these lemmings moving beneath the snow. They plunge down, break through the crust, catch prey they cannot see. In years when lemming populations are low, snowy owls migrate further south. They've been spotted as far south as the northern United States, but their true home is the Arctic, the land of endless winter. Wolves grow thicker coats in winter. Their summer coat is shorter, thinner. But as autumn approaches, they develop a dense undercoat, and their guard hairs grow longer. This winter coat is so effective, wolves can sleep comfortably on snow at -40 degrees. They often sleep curled up, nose tucked under their tail, breathing into their fur, creating a pocket of warm air. Wolves also have large paws, the pads thick and insulated, spreading their weight on snow. In winter, prey is often weakened by cold and hunger, easier to catch, but hunting is still difficult. Snow can be deep, travel exhausting. Every calorie matters. Wolves work together, pack hunting, taking down animals much larger than themselves. Elk, moose, bison. Their howls, echoing through winter forests, are one of winter's most haunting sounds. In Finland, the sun doesn't rise for about 51 days in midwinter. This period is called Karmos, polar night. In the northernmost parts of Finland, above the Arctic Circle, the sun dips below the horizon in early December and doesn't reappear until mid-January. It's not completely dark. There's a period of twilight each day, blue twilight, civil twilight, but no sunrise. People adjust. They light candles, decorate with lights, embrace the darkness. Some find it peaceful, meditative, a time for rest and introspection. Others struggle with the lack of light. Seasonal affective disorder is common, but everyone knows the light will return, as it always has, as it always will. And when the sun finally rises again, after nearly 2 months, it's celebrated. A rebirth, a promise fulfilled. Japan has a tradition called yukimi, snow viewing, similar to cherry blossom viewing in spring. Yukimi is the appreciation of snow-covered landscapes. People visit gardens, temples, mountains, to see how snow transforms familiar places. Traditional Japanese gardens are designed with winter in mind. Stone lanterns that look beautiful capped with snow, bridges over frozen ponds, evergreen trees dusted with white. There's even a special term, yukitsuri, for the ropes tied to tree branches, supporting them under the weight of heavy snow. The ropes themselves, forming geometric patterns, become part of the aesthetic. Tea houses hold winter tea ceremonies. Guests arrive through snow, remove their cold weather clothing, enter the warm interior. The contrast between outside and inside, between cold and warm, is part of the experience. Yukimi reminds us that winter, like all seasons, has its own beauty, its own gifts. In Sweden, they build the ice hotel every winter. The entire hotel is made of ice and snow, walls, furniture, even the beds. It's been rebuilt every winter since 1989 in the village of Jukkasjärvi, about 200 kilometers north of the Arctic Circle. Artists from around the world create ice sculptures, design rooms, craft art from frozen water. Guests sleep on ice beds covered with reindeer skins, in sleeping bags rated for extreme cold. The temperature inside is about -5 degrees Celsius. It's an experience, sleeping in a building made of ice, surrounded by frozen art. In spring, the hotel melts, returns to the river, flows away, and next winter, they build it again. Always different, always new, temporary, ephemeral, like winter itself. The winter solstice has been celebrated for thousands of years. Ancient Romans celebrated Saturnalia, a festival of light and feasting, during the darkest days. Germanic peoples celebrated Yule, a 12-day festival, with fires and evergreen decorations. The Celtic peoples celebrated the winter solstice at Newgrange, the Passage Tomb in Ireland, built over 5,000 years ago. On the morning of the winter solstice, sunlight enters through a special opening, illuminates the inner chamber. For 17 minutes, light floods the darkness. It's a moment of wonder, of connection to ancient people who watched the same sun, the same sky, different cultures, different names, but the same recognition. Winter is darkness, but light returns, always, in Iceland. The winter months are called Thori and Goa. Thori begins in late January, named after an ancient Norse giant. During Thorrablot, a traditional midwinter feast, Icelanders eat traditional preserved foods. Some of these foods are acquired tastes, fermented shark, singed sheep's head, blood pudding. These were the foods that sustained people through long winters, when fresh food was scarce. Today, the feast is more symbolic, a connection to the past, to ancestors who survived in one of Europe's harshest climates. Iceland's winters are actually milder than you might expect. The Gulf Stream brings warmer water, but they're long, dark, windy. Yet Icelanders embrace them with festivals, stories, community, because winter, no matter how dark, is part of the rhythm of life. Russia has a beloved character called Ded Moroz, Grandfather Frost. He's accompanied by his granddaughter, Snegurochka, the Snow Maiden. Together, they deliver gifts during the New Year celebration, not Christmas. New Year. Ded Moroz wears a long coat, usually blue or silver, sometimes red. He carries a staff and travels not by sleigh pulled by reindeer, but on foot, or by troika, a traditional Russian sleigh pulled by 3 horses. Snegurochka is a unique figure, a snow spirit, helper and companion. She melts in spring, is reborn each winter, eternal and ephemeral. These characters reflect the Russian relationship with winter. Winter is not an enemy, it's a presence, a part of identity. To be Russian, in some way, is to embrace winter. Ice is less dense than liquid water. This is unusual. Most substances are denser in their solid state than their liquid state. But water, when it freezes, forms a crystalline structure. The molecules arrange themselves in a hexagonal pattern, with spaces between them. This structure makes ice less dense than liquid water, by about 9%. That's why ice floats, and this is incredibly important. If ice didn't float, lakes and oceans would freeze from the bottom up. In winter, ice would sink, more would form. Eventually, entire bodies of water could freeze solid, but because ice floats, it forms a layer on top, insulating the water below. Fish can survive, aquatic plants can survive, life continues beneath the ice, all because of this unusual property, this molecular arrangement. Water can remain liquid below freezing. This is called supercooling. Pure water, with no impurities, no nucleation sites, can be cooled well below 0 degrees Celsius without freezing. It remains liquid, unstable, waiting. Then, the slightest disturbance, a vibration, a speck of dust, triggers crystallization, and instantly, the water freezes. This happens in clouds. Water droplets cool to -10, -20, even -40 degrees Celsius, still liquid. When these supercooled droplets hit an airplane wing, they freeze on contact, icing. Or when they hit the ground, they create freezing rain, a glaze of ice coating everything. It's beautiful and dangerous. Trees coated in clear ice, power lines sagging under the weight, the world turned to glass. There are at least 18 different crystalline forms of ice. We're familiar with ice IH. Hexagonal ice, the kind that forms naturally on Earth, but under different pressures and temperatures. Water can freeze into other structures. Ice 2, Ice 3, all the way to Ice 18, discovered in 2021. Some of these forms exist only at extreme pressures, deep in the Earth's crust, or on other planets. Some exist at very low temperatures, below anything found naturally on Earth's surface. Each form has different properties, different densities, different crystal structures. On Earth's surface, we only see one kind, hexagonal ice, ice IH. But elsewhere in the universe, on frozen moons, in the depths of icy planets, other forms of ice exist, strange, dense, unlike anything we experience. Glacial ice can appear blue. When you look at a glacier, especially an old, thick glacier, the ice has a distinctive blue color. Why? As snow accumulates and compresses into glacial ice, air bubbles are squeezed out. The ice becomes very dense. Light penetrates this ice. Red light, with its longer wavelength, is absorbed. Blue light, with its shorter wavelength, is scattered and reflected back. The deeper the ice, the purer it is, the more intense the blue. It's the same phenomenon that makes the sky blue and the ocean blue. But glacial ice blue is different. It's the color of ancient winter, compressed time, frozen centuries. Frost forms when water vapor deposits directly into ice crystals. No liquid phase, vapor to solid. This happens when the surface temperature is below freezing and the air contains moisture. On cold mornings, you might see frost on windows, on grass, on leaves. Each crystal has grown directly from the air. Molecule by molecule, frost patterns on windows are called fern frost because they resemble ferns or feathers, intricate branching patterns. These patterns form because ice crystals grow faster at their tips, and they grow along lines of scratches or imperfections in the glass. No two frost patterns are exactly alike, like snowflakes. Each window, on each cold morning, creates its own unique art. Some plants bloom in winter: snowdrops, hellebores, winter jasmine, winter aconite. These flowers push through snow, brave freezing temperatures, open their petals in the shortest days. How do they survive? Some contain antifreeze proteins, the same kinds of proteins found in Arctic fish. These proteins prevent ice crystals from forming inside cells. Others have developed thick, waxy cuticles, protecting delicate tissues from wind and cold. Still others bloom very quickly, when conditions are right. When there's a warm spell, they rush through their entire flowering cycle in days. Winter flowers are often white or pale yellow, colors that stand out against snow, and they're often fragrant, attracting the few pollinators active in winter. Life, even in the coldest months, finds a way. Evergreen trees keep their leaves, or needles, year-round. Deciduous trees drop their leaves in autumn, but evergreens, conifers, pines, spruces, firs retain their foliage Their needles are specially adapted, narrow, with a small surface area. This reduces water loss, and they're covered with a waxy coating, further protecting against desiccation. In winter, when the ground is frozen and water is unavailable, this adaptation is crucial. Evergreens can photosynthesize on warm winter days. When deciduous trees are dormant, they can take advantage of every bit of available light. Their dark green needles against white snow are one of winter's most iconic images, symbols of persistence, of life continuing through the cold. Tree bark protects against winter cold. Thick bark acts as insulation, protecting the living tissues beneath. The cambium layer, just under the bark, is where growth occurs. It must be protected from freezing. Some trees have very thick bark, sequoias, cork oaks. This protects them not just from cold, but from fire as well. Other trees have developed different strategies. Birch trees, with their white bark, reflect sunlight. This prevents the trunk from warming during the day and then freezing at night. Temperature fluctuations can cause bark to crack. In deep winter, some trees develop frost cracks, long splits in the trunk as the wood contracts with extreme cold. These cracks can be heard. On the coldest nights, you might hear sharp reports echoing through the forest, like gunshots, the trees cracking in the cold. Lichens thrive in winter. Lichens are not a single organism. They're a symbiotic relationship between fungi and algae, or fungi and cyanobacteria. They grow on rocks, on trees, on bare ground, and they're remarkably cold tolerant. In winter, when most plants are dormant, lichens continue to photosynthesize. Slowly, but steadily. They can absorb water from snow and fog. They don't need roots. Some lichens are a primary food source for animals like reindeer and caribou, especially in winter when other food is scarce. Lichens are also very slow growing. Some lichen colonies are thousands of years old. They witnessed the last ice age, and the one before that. Ancient, patient, survivors. Deciduous trees have dormant buds ready for spring, even in the depth of winter, even when branches are bare and frozen. The buds are there, tiny, tightly closed, protected by scales inside each bud. Next spring's leaves and flowers are already formed, in miniature, waiting. The buds contain high concentrations of sugars and antifreeze compounds. This prevents ice from forming inside the delicate tissues. The tree knows when to break dormancy. It counts the cold hours, chilling hours. The tree needs a certain amount of cold before it will respond to warmth. This prevents buds from opening during a winter warm spell, only to be killed by the next freeze. The tree waits, patient, until true spring arrives. Then, and only then, the buds swell, open, unfurl. Humans have developed many ways to survive winter. Our bodies are not well adapted to cold. We don't have thick fur. We don't hibernate. But we have intelligence, creativity, culture. We learn to make fire, to build shelters, to wear clothing, animal skins, furs, woven fabrics, layers upon layers. We learn to store food, drying, smoking, salting, fermenting. We learn to work together, to share resources, to help each other through the lean months. And we developed traditions, stories, celebrations, to mark the passage of winter, to bring light into darkness, to give people something to look forward to. Winter, for humans, is as much cultural as physical. The word winter comes from an old Germanic word. It may be related to wind or wet, or to an old word meaning white. In various languages, winter carries different connotations. In some, it's the cold time. In others, the dark time, or the sleeping time. Each culture defines winter in its own way, but everywhere, winter is recognized as distinct, different from other seasons, a time apart. Seasonal affective disorder affects many people in winter. SAD, a form of depression related to seasonal changes. Symptoms include low energy, difficulty concentrating, increased sleep, cravings for carbohydrates, feelings of sadness or hopelessness. It's caused by reduced sunlight. Less light means less serotonin and disrupted melatonin. Our biological rhythms, circadian rhythms, become dysregulated. Treatment often involves light therapy, sitting in front of a bright light box for 20 to 30 minutes each morning. The light mimics natural sunlight, helps reset the body's internal clock. Most people with SAD recover fully when spring arrives and the days lengthen. It's a reminder that we are, in many ways, still creatures of the sun. Winter sports have a long history. Ice skating dates back at least 3,000 years. Ancient people strapped animal bones to their feet, glided across frozen lakes and rivers. Skiing is even older. Evidence suggests people were skiing in what is now Russia and China over 10,000 years ago. These weren't sports, they were transportation, survival. But humans, being human, turned them into play, competitions, games, fun. Today, winter sports are enjoyed worldwide. Skiing, snowboarding, ice hockey, figure skating. We've taken the challenges of winter and transformed them into joy. Hot chocolate became popular as a winter drink in Europe in the 17th century. The Aztecs and Mayans had been drinking chocolate for thousands of years, but they drank it cold, often mixed with chili peppers. When Spanish conquistadors brought cocoa to Europe, it was adapted, made hot, sweetened with sugar. By the 1600s, chocolate houses were popular in London, Amsterdam, Paris. Hot chocolate was expensive, a luxury, something for special occasions, but gradually, it became more accessible. A winter comfort. There's something perfect about holding a warm cup on a cold day, feeling the heat through your hands, the sweet, rich taste. Hot chocolate, melting marshmallows, whipped cream. Small pleasures, but meaningful ones. Blizzards are defined by wind speed, not snowfall amount. A blizzard requires sustained winds of at least 35 miles per hour, or frequent gusts to that speed. And there must be considerable falling or blowing snow, reducing visibility to less than a quarter mile. These conditions must last for at least 3 hours. You can have a blizzard with relatively little new snowfall, if winds are strong enough to blow existing snow. These are called ground blizzards. In a true blizzard, you can't see. You can become disoriented, lost. People have died just a few feet from their homes, unable to find their way. Whiteout conditions, everything white, no horizon, no sense of direction. Blizzards are dangerous, beautiful, but dangerous. Frostquakes, or cryoseisms, are real phenomena. They sound like explosions, or earthquakes. They happen when water in the ground freezes rapidly, during sudden, extreme cold snaps. As water freezes, it expands. The pressure builds in the soil or bedrock. Finally, the ground can't contain the pressure. It cracks, fractures. The sound can be startling, loud enough to wake people from sleep, but they don't cause the kind of damage earthquakes do, usually just small cracks. They're most common in areas with very cold winters and soil with high water content. Another reminder that winter is active, dynamic, full of hidden energy. Ice storms coat everything in a layer of clear ice. They occur when freezing rain falls. Rain that's liquid, but at temperatures below zero. When these supercooled droplets hit a surface, they freeze instantly, layer upon layer, building up, sometimes inches thick. Trees bow under the weight, branches break, power lines snap. But before the destruction, there's beauty. Every surface coated in glass, every twig, every blade of grass, the world transformed into crystal. Sunlight catches the ice, sparkles, refracts. For a few hours, before the damage becomes clear, it's like living in a fairy tale. Thundersnow is a rare winter phenomenon. Most thunderstorms occur in summer, when warm air rises rapidly. But occasionally, winter storms have the same ingredients: unstable air, moisture, lift. The result is thunder and lightning during a snowstorm. Thundersnow, it's eerie. The lightning illuminates falling snow. The thunder sounds muffled, absorbed by the snow. Thundersnow often produces the heaviest snowfall rates, 2 to 4 inches per hour, or more. If you've experienced it, you don't forget it. The flash of light, the boom, and snow everywhere. Diamond dust is a type of ice crystal precipitation. It occurs in very cold, very calm conditions, usually clear skies, no clouds. Water vapor in the air freezes directly into tiny ice crystals, so small they float in the air. When sunlight hits these crystals, they sparkle, like diamonds, hence the name, or like glitter drifting through the air. Diamond dust is common in Antarctica and in the Arctic. On the coldest, clearest days, it creates optical phenomena, light pillars, sundogs, halos. The crystals act like tiny prisms, bending light, creating colors. It's one of winter's most magical sights. Earth has experienced several ice ages. The most recent one ended about 11,700 years ago. At its peak, about 20,000 years ago, ice sheets covered much of North America, Northern Europe, parts of Asia. The ice was miles thick in places. Imagine standing where a modern city now exists, and above you, 2 miles of solid ice. Sea levels were about 400 feet lower than today, because so much water was locked up in ice. You could walk from England to France, from Siberia to Alaska. Many areas that are now underwater were dry land. The Ice Age shaped the landscape, carved valleys, created lakes, ground down mountains. And then it ended. The earth warmed. The ice retreated. Gradually, over thousands of years, we may still be in an ice age, technically. An ice age is defined as a period when ice sheets exist at the poles. We have ice at the North Pole, Arctic sea ice, and the Greenland ice sheet. We have Antarctica, covered in ice. So by this definition, we're in an ice age, just in a warmer period within it, an interglacial. Throughout Earth's history, ice ages have been relatively rare. Most of Earth's history has been ice-free, even at the poles. But for the past 2.6 million years, we've been in an ice age, sometimes colder, sometimes warmer, but ice. Present. The Little Ice Age was a period of cooling from about 1300 to 1850. Temperatures dropped, glaciers advanced. Winters were longer and harsher. The Thames River in London froze regularly. Frost fairs were held on the ice. In North America, the winters were particularly severe. Growing seasons shortened. The causes are still debated. Volcanic eruptions, changes in solar activity, ocean circulation patterns. Whatever the causes, the effects were real. Crops failed, famines occurred, but humans adapted, survived, as they always have, and eventually, the Earth warmed again. Glaciers retreated. The Little Ice Age ended. But it's a reminder, climate changes. always has, always will. Ice cores provide a record of ancient climates. Scientists drill deep into glaciers and ice sheets, extracting cylinders of ice. The deeper you go, the older the ice. In Antarctica, ice cores reach back 800,000 years. Trapped in the ice are tiny air bubbles, ancient air, preserved. By analyzing these bubbles, scientists can determine atmospheric composition, carbon dioxide levels, methane levels. They can also analyze the ice itself, the ratio of different oxygen isotopes. This tells them about temperature. Ice cores are like time machines, allowing us to see Earth's climate history, to understand how climate has changed and how quickly. Permafrost thaw releases greenhouse gases as the Earth warms. Permafrost that has been frozen for thousands of years begins to thaw. Organic matter trapped in the permafrost, plant material, animal remains, begins to decompose. This releases carbon dioxide and methane. Methane is a particularly potent greenhouse gas, much more effective at trapping heat than carbon dioxide. So permafrost thaw creates a feedback loop. Warming causes thaw. Thaw releases gases. Gases cause more warming. It's one of the concerns about climate change. Thawing permafrost could release massive amounts of greenhouse gases, accelerating warming. Winter and its frozen landscapes are part of Earth's climate system, connected to everything else. Many winter holidays involve light. Hanukkah, the festival of lights, 8 nights of candle lighting. Christmas, with its lights and candles, trees decorated with twinkling bulbs. Diwali, the Hindu festival of lights, often falling in autumn or early winter. Yule, with its Yule log, burning through the longest night. Winter solstice celebrations worldwide. Bonfires, lanterns, luminarias. The symbolism is clear. In the darkest time, we create light. We push back against the darkness. We affirm that light exists and will return. These traditions are ancient, deeply human. Light in darkness, hope in hardship, caroling, singing from door to door, has medieval origins. In England, wassailers would go from house to house, singing, wishing good health. In return, they'd receive food and drink, especially wassail, a hot mulled cider. The tradition spread, evolved. In some cultures, children dress as stars, animals, angels, go door to door, sing, receive treats. It's about community, connection. In the cold and dark, reaching out to neighbors, sharing warmth, sharing joy. Caroling is less common now in many places, but the impulse remains, to bring music into winter, to share something beautiful. The Christmas tree tradition has ancient roots. Evergreen trees have long been symbols of life in winter. Romans decorated with evergreen branches during Saturnalia. Germanic peoples brought evergreen trees inside, decorated them. The modern Christmas tree tradition, as we know it, began in Germany in the 16th century. By the 19th century, it had spread across Europe and to America. Why trees? Because they remain green, alive. When everything else seems dead, they're a reminder, a promise, that life continues, that spring will come. Decorating them, bringing them inside, honoring them, is honoring life itself. Gift-giving in winter is nearly universal. Different cultures, different holidays, but the same impulse, to give, to share, to strengthen bonds. In times of scarcity, giving becomes more meaningful, more important. Winter was traditionally the lean time, when food was scarce, when survival depended on community. Giving gifts, sharing resources, was essential. Today, in many places, winter is no longer a time of scarcity. We have grocery stores, central heating, electric lights. But the traditions remain, the gift-giving, the feasting, the coming together. Because these traditions aren't really about material things, they're about connection. They're about saying, we're in this together. Many cultures have winter festivals with bonfires, fire, in the coldest, darkest time. Up Heli Aa in Scotland, a Viking fire festival in midwinter, bonfires, torchlight processions, the burning of a Viking longship, Guy Fawkes Night in England, November 5th, bonfires and fireworks, Yalda Night in Iran, the longest night of the year. Families gather, stay awake, eat, read poetry, wait for dawn. Fire symbolizes so much: light, warmth, life, the sun. In winter, fire is precious, essential, sacred, and gathering around it, that's community, that's survival, that's home. Staying dry is crucial in winter survival. Wet clothing loses its insulating ability. Water conducts heat away from your body much faster than air. You can die of hypothermia, even in relatively mild temperatures, if you're wet. So in winter, staying dry is priority one. This means waterproof outer layers and moisture management from the inside. Cotton is a poor choice for winter. When it gets wet from sweat or snow, it stays wet and provides no warmth. Wool is better. Wool retains warmth even when damp. Synthetic materials like polyester or polypropylene wick moisture away. Layering is key. Base layer, insulating layer, waterproof shell. Simple knowledge, but it can save your life. You can get dehydrated in winter, even though it's cold, even though you're not sweating, obviously. Your body still loses water through breathing, through insensible perspiration, and the air in winter is often very dry, especially in cold climates. Thirst isn't always a reliable indicator. You might not feel thirsty, but you still need water. Dehydration can worsen hypothermia, can lead to confusion, fatigue. If you're in a winter survival situation, you need to find water or melt snow, but never eat snow directly. It will lower your core temperature. Melt it first. Warm it if possible. Stay hydrated, even in winter, especially in winter. Building a snow shelter can save your life. Snow is a good insulator. Trapped air between the crystals provides insulation. A properly built snow cave, or quinzhee, can be much warmer than outside air temperature. Inside, protected from wind, with body heat warming the space. Temperatures can be quite comfortable, even if it's -20 outside. Inside might be just below freezing. That difference can be life or death. Indigenous peoples in the Arctic have been building igloos for thousands of years. The principles are the same. Use snow's insulating properties, block wind, create a small enclosed space. Winter can kill, but it also provides tools for survival if you know how to use them. Frostbite is the freezing of skin and underlying tissues. It usually affects extremities, fingers, toes, nose, ears, cheeks. The first stage is frostnip. The skin looks pale, feels numb, but there's no permanent damage. If exposure continues, frostbite develops. Ice crystals form in the tissues. Superficial frostbite affects just the outer layers of skin. It's painful when re-warmed. The skin may blister. Deep frostbite affects deeper tissues, muscles, bones. The area looks waxy, white or greyish yellow. When re-warmed, it turns blue or purple. Very painful. Blisters filled with blood. Deep frostbite can cause permanent damage. Tissue death. Amputation may be necessary. Prevention is key. Dress appropriately. Cover exposed skin. Stay dry. Pay attention to warning signs. Numbness, tingling, pain. Winter must be respected. Hypothermia is a drop in core body temperature. Normal body temperature is about 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, 37 degrees Celsius. When it drops to 95 degrees Fahrenheit, hypothermia begins. Mild hypothermia, 95 to 90 degrees, causes shivering, confusion, slurred speech, lack of coordination. Moderate hypothermia, 90 to 82 degrees, shivering stops. The person becomes very drowsy, confused, may stop trying to warm themselves. This is dangerous. The person may not recognize they're in danger. Severe hypothermia, below 82 degrees. Unconsciousness, weak pulse, shallow breathing, appears dead. But hypothermia victims should never be assumed dead until they're warm and dead. There are cases of people surviving after their core temperature dropped to 60 degrees. Treatment is gradual warming. Hypothermia victims must be handled gently. Sudden movements can cause cardiac arrest. Winter demands respect, preparation, awareness. Many birds migrate south for winter. They follow ancient routes, flyways, passed down through generations. Arctic terns migrate from pole to pole, the longest migration of any animal. They experience 2 summers each year, never seeing winter. Monarch butterflies, though not birds, make a similar journey, from Canada to Mexico. These migrations are epic, thousands of miles, over mountains, over oceans, driven by instinct, by the shortening days, by the dropping temperatures. Migration is dangerous. Many don't survive the journey, but those who do find food, find warmth, find survival. Some birds stay through winter: cardinals, blue jays, chickadees, nuthatches. These birds are adapted to cold. They fluff their feathers, creating air pockets for insulation. Some can enter torpor, a state of reduced metabolism. On very cold nights, their body temperature drops, their heart rate slows. They conserve energy. In the morning, they warm up again, resume activity. Winter birds must eat constantly, foraging through short winter days, searching for seeds, insects, anything. They need to consume enough calories to make it through the long, cold night. Bird feeders, in winter, can be lifesavers, a reliable food source when natural food is scarce. And for humans, winter birds bring life and color to gray days. Ravens and crows are among the smartest winter residents. They don't migrate. They thrive in winter. These birds are problem solvers, tool users. They can plan ahead. Ravens cache food, hide it, remember where, retrieve it later. They can even deceive other ravens, hide food in one spot while another raven is watching, then move it once the observer leaves. In winter, ravens and crows are often seen on roadways, feeding on roadkill. They've learned to use cars as tools, dropping nuts on roads for cars to crack open. They work together, cooperate, communicate with complex vocalizations. In folklore, ravens are associated with winter, with death, with wisdom, perhaps because they're survivors, thriving when others struggle. Ptarmigans change color with the seasons. In summer, they're brown and mottled, matching the tundra vegetation. In winter, they turn pure white, matching the snow. Their feathers grow thicker in winter. Even their feet are feathered, providing insulation and acting like snowshoes. Ptarmigans can survive in some of the harshest environments on Earth. Arctic tundra, alpine zones. They burrow into snow, creating tunnels and chambers. The snow insulates them from the wind and cold. At night, they huddle in these snow burrows, safe, warm enough. In the morning, they emerge, dig for food beneath the snow. willow buds, seeds, anything they can find. Another perfectly adapted winter creature. Woodpeckers excavate cavities in trees for winter roosting. These cavities provide shelter, protection from wind and cold. Some woodpecker species are communal roosters, multiple birds crowding into one cavity, sharing warmth. Other animals use old woodpecker cavities too. Owls, squirrels, mice. Woodpeckers continue to forage in winter, drilling into bark, searching for insect larvae hiding in the wood. Their strong bills, shock-absorbing skulls, long tongues, all adaptations for this lifestyle. In winter, when the forest is quiet, you can hear them. The rhythmic tapping, echoing through bare trees, a sound of life, of persistence. Jack Frost is a personification of frost and cold weather. In folklore, he's a sprite, a mischievous spirit who paints frost patterns on windows, nips at your nose and toes. Jack Frost appears in stories from England, Scandinavia, North America. Sometimes he's friendly, playful, bringing beauty and fun. Sometimes he's dangerous, bringing frostbite and hypothermia. He's winter personified, neither good nor evil, simply winter, with its beauty and its danger. The Yuki Onna of Japanese folklore is a winter spirit, a beautiful woman, dressed in white, appearing during snowstorms. Sometimes she helps travelers, guides them to safety. Sometimes she leads them astray, leaves them to freeze in the snow. In some stories, she's the ghost of someone who died in the snow. In others, she's a winter elemental, a force of nature. The Yuki Onna embodies winter's duality, beautiful but deadly, alluring but dangerous. She appears when least expected, in the midst of a blizzard, when you're lost and alone. Norse mythology is filled with winter imagery. Fimbulwinter, the great winter, precedes Ragnarok, the end of the world. 3 successive winters, with no summer in between, harsh, deadly, endless cold. Snow falls from all directions, fierce winds. The sun provides no warmth. It's a winter to end all winters. In the Norse worldview, winter wasn't just a season. It was a force, a power, to be respected, feared, honored. Their stories reflect the reality of life in Scandinavia, where winter could indeed be deadly, where survival was never guaranteed. Krampus is a horned demonic figure from Central European folklore. He appears during the Christmas season as a counterpart to Saint Nicholas. While Saint Nicholas rewards good children, Krampus punishes the naughty. He carries chains, bells, a bundle of birch branches, and sometimes a large sack or basket for carrying away bad children. Krampus traditions are still observed in some parts of Austria and Germany. Young men dress in elaborate Krampus costumes, roam the streets, playfully frightening people. It's a reminder that winter traditions aren't all gentle and sweet. There's a wildness to them, an acknowledgement of winter's darker aspects. La Befana is an Italian witch or crone who delivers gifts on Epiphany Eve. January 5th, the night before Three Kings Day, according to legend, the 3 wise men stopped at Befana's house. Seeking directions to Bethlehem, she declined to join them, said she was too busy. Later, she regretted this, set out to find the child herself, with gifts, but she never found him. And now, every year, she flies on her broomstick, visiting children, leaving gifts. She's not glamorous, she's old, covered in soot from travelling down chimneys, but she's beloved, a grandmother figure, bringing warmth and gifts in the cold of winter. Black ice is nearly invisible ice on roadways. It forms when temperatures are just below freezing and there's moisture on the road, a thin layer of ice, so thin, the black road shows through, hence the name. Black ice is extremely dangerous. It's slippery, and drivers often don't see it until it's too late. It forms most often on bridges and overpasses. These areas freeze faster because cold air circulates both above and below, and in shaded areas where the sun doesn't reach to melt ice. Early morning, after a light rain or fog, these are high-risk times. Drive slowly, be cautious. In winter, assume ice might be present. Ice fishing is a popular winter activity in northern regions. Anglers cut holes through thick lake ice, drop lines into the water below. It requires patience. Sitting in the cold, sometimes in a small shelter, waiting for a bite. But beneath the ice, fish are active, feeding, swimming in near-freezing water. Some fish species are more active in winter: northern pike, walleye, perch. Ice fishing shelters have evolved. Modern ones are portable, insulated. Some have heaters. It becomes a social activity. Friends gathering on the ice, sharing warmth, stories, waiting together. There's something peaceful about it. The quiet, the simplicity. Just you, the ice, the water below. Icebreaker ships maintain navigation routes in frozen waters. These ships have reinforced hulls, powerful engines, special shapes. They push onto the ice, use their weight to break through, or they ride up onto the ice, break it with downward force. Icebreakers keep ports open, enable year-round shipping in places that would otherwise be inaccessible for months. Russia has the largest icebreaker fleet, including nuclear-powered icebreakers, capable of breaking through ice several meters thick. These ships are engineering marvels, designed for one of the harshest environments on Earth. They represent human determination to navigate, to explore, to trade, even in winter, even in ice. Icebergs are pieces of glaciers that have broken off and float in the ocean. Only about 10% of an iceberg is visible above water, the rest hidden below, hence the expression, tip of the iceberg. Icebergs can be enormous, the size of cities, containing millions of tons of ice. They drift with currents, slowly melting, eventually disappearing into the ocean. But while they exist, they're stunning, sculpted by wind and waves, shimmering in the sun, blues and whites, carved arches and pinnacles. In the Arctic and around Antarctica, icebergs are common, a reminder of the ice that covers the poles, and of winter's power to shape even the ocean. Anchor ice forms on riverbeds and lake bottoms, even when the surface is unfrozen. It happens in fast-moving water. On very cold nights, the water is supercooled, below freezing, but movement prevents it from freezing. When this water contacts rocks or plants on the bottom, ice forms. Anchored to these objects, anchor ice can be thick, heavy. Sometimes it becomes buoyant, rises to the surface, carrying rocks and debris with it. It's a strange phenomenon. Ice forming underwater, below liquid water. But winter is full of such paradoxes. Winter light is different from summer light. The sun is lower in the sky, the angle of sunlight more oblique. This creates longer shadows, softer light, richer colors at sunrise and sunset. Photographers call it the golden hour. But in winter, it lasts much longer. The low sun, the clear air. Often cold weather means less atmospheric haze. Light acquires a quality, crisp, pure, almost crystalline. And when light hits snow, it reflects, brightens. Even on cloudy days, snow-covered landscapes seem to glow. Winter light is not warm, but it's beautiful, haunting, ethereal, perfect. Winter sounds are distinct, the crunch of snow underfoot, each step a soft compression, the whisper of wind through bare branches, no longer rustling leaves, now a whistling, a sighing, the crack of ice on a pond, or a branch breaking under snow's weight, the drip of melting icicles on a warmer afternoon. Even silence sounds different in winter, deeper, more complete, with less vegetation, fewer insects, fewer birds. The soundscape changes. What remains becomes more noticeable, more significant. A crow's call, a dog's bark, voices carrying across frozen air. Winter has its own music. Winter smells are subtle, not the rich scents of spring and summer. Flowers, cut grass, warm earth. Winter's scents are cleaner, sharper, cold air, fresh snow, almost odorless, but with a quality, a clarity. Wood smoke from fireplaces and wood stoves, sweet, warm, nostalgic. Pine, if you're near evergreen trees, that sharp, resinous scent. On a farm, the smell of animals in their winter quarters, hay, manure. And sometimes, if you're lucky, someone baking inside, bread, cookies, the scent drifting out through a vent. Winter's smells are comforting. They speak of warmth, of shelter, of home. Winter colours are muted, but beautiful. White, obviously. Snow everywhere, but also greys, browns. The colours of bare trees and dormant grass. Blue, the sky on a clear winter day. Deeper blue than summer, more intense. And punctuating this palette, splashes of colour. Red berries, bright against white snow. Green conifers, stands of pine and spruce. The red or orange of a sunset, reflected on snow, turning the whole world pink. The yellow light from windows, at dusk, warm and inviting. Winter isn't colourless, it's just different, more subtle, more contemplative. Winter invites reflection. The natural world slows down, goes dormant, rests, and we, if we let ourselves, can do the same. Winter is a time for being indoors, for slowing down, for introspection. In the dark evenings, by a fire, there's time to think, to read, to create. Many artists and writers do their best work in winter. The external world less demanding, the internal world richer. Winter gives us permission to rest, to restore, to prepare for the activity of spring. It's not emptiness, it's fullness of a different kind. Winter has inspired countless works of art. Paintings, Peter Bruegel's winter landscapes, hunters in the snow, scenes of daily life in winter, Claude Monet's paintings of snow, capturing light and shadow, the subtle colours, music, Vivaldi's Winter from the Four Seasons, sharp, intense, evocative, literature, countless poems, stories, novels set in winter. Winter provides a backdrop, a mood, a metaphor for stillness, for hardship, for the passage of time, for death and rebirth. Artists return to winter again and again, finding new meaning, new beauty. Winter is coming has become a modern cultural phrase. From Game of Thrones, the words of House Stark, a warning, a reminder that difficult times lie ahead, but also a statement of reality. Winter does come, always has, always will, and we must be prepared, must be strong, must work together. The phrase resonates because it taps into something primal. Our ancestors understood. Winter was a test. Survival was not guaranteed. Today, for many of us, winter is no longer a matter of life and death, but the phrase remains, a metaphor for challenges ahead, for hard times. Winter is coming, and we will endure. Spring would not be so welcome without winter. The contrast, the change, the transformation. If it were always warm, always green, we wouldn't appreciate it. Winter makes us long for spring, makes us treasure the first warm day, the first green shoot. Everything has value in relation to its opposite, light and dark, warmth and cold, growth and dormancy. Winter is not just to be endured, it's essential. Part of the cycle. Without winter, there would be no spring. Winter teaches patience. You cannot hurry winter, cannot make the days longer, cannot make the snow melt faster. It will proceed at its own pace, follow its own rhythms. We can only adapt, accept, wait. In our fast-paced world, winter's slowness is a gift, a forced pause, a necessary rest. We learn that not everything can be controlled, not everything can be rushed. Some things, like seasons, simply must unfold in their own time. Winter teaches us patience, acceptance, presence. Winter makes us grateful for warmth, coming inside from the cold, feeling your fingers tingle as they warm up, wrapping your hands around a hot drink, pulling a blanket around yourself. These simple pleasures, made meaningful by contrast. Without cold, warmth is just normal, expected. But after being cold, truly cold, warmth becomes precious. We remember, our bodies remember. That warmth is life, cold is danger, and we're grateful for fire, for shelter, for clothing, for home. Winter cultivates gratitude. Winter stars are the brightest, clear winter nights, cold air, less moisture and haze in the atmosphere. The stars shine with unusual brilliance. Orion the hunter, prominent in winter skies, his belt, his sword, Betelgeuse and Rigel, Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky, part of Canis Major, the Pleiades, 7 sisters, a cluster of stars. Winter is the best time for stargazing. Bundle up, go outside, look up. The universe reveals itself, vast, ancient, infinite, and you, small beneath the stars, part of something larger. Winter connects us to the cosmos. Cabin fever is a real psychological phenomenon. Being isolated, stuck indoors, during long winters, can affect mental health. Symptoms include restlessness, irritability, difficulty concentrating, sadness. It's caused by lack of sunlight, lack of physical activity, lack of social interaction. The cure: get outside, even in the cold, even for just a few minutes. Sunlight, fresh air, movement. These help. Maintain social connections, call friends, video chat. Don't isolate completely. Find indoor hobbies, activities, things to look forward to. Winter can be challenging, but awareness helps. Taking small steps helps. We're social creatures, active creatures. We need light, connection, purpose, even in winter, especially in winter. Winter is a time for stories, long nights, people gathered inside. What else is there to do but talk, tell stories? Oral traditions flourished in winter. Elders sharing knowledge, history, myths, legends. Children listening, learning, passing stories to the next generation. Ghost stories are often told in winter. Why? Perhaps because the dark nights make them more frightening, more believable, or because winter, with its stillness and silence, feels closer to death, to the unknown. Stories connect us to our past, to each other, to our culture. Winter is storytelling season, always has been. Hot springs and thermal baths are especially enjoyable in winter. The contrast, sitting in steaming water while snow falls around you, while cold air touches your face. In Iceland, Japan, New Zealand, many places with geothermal activity, people have been using hot springs for thousands of years, for bathing, for healing, for relaxation. Japanese snow monkeys famously bathe in hot springs, sitting in the water, snow on their heads. They discovered what humans learned long ago. Hot water feels wonderful, especially in winter. The minerals in thermal water can be therapeutic, but even plain hot water is soothing, for muscles, for joints, for the mind. Winter and heat, opposites, but together, perfect. Winter solstice is celebrated worldwide, with a common theme: the return of light. After the solstice, days begin to lengthen, incrementally, a minute or two each day. It's barely noticeable at first, but it's happening. Ancient people tracked this carefully, marked it with ceremonies, celebrations, because they understood the sun's return meant survival, meant warmth would come again, meant food would grow again. We no longer depend on the sun in quite the same way. We have electric lights, imported food, heating systems, but something in us still responds, still feels relief, still celebrates. The light is returning. Winter will not last forever. Hope, renewal. These are winter solstice themes, across cultures, across time. Avalanches are a serious winter hazard in mountains. They occur when accumulated snow becomes unstable and slides down a slope. The triggers can be natural: new snowfall, warming temperatures, wind loading, or human-caused: skiers, snowmobilers, anyone on or near the slope. Avalanches can travel over 80 miles per hour, moving with tremendous force. They destroy everything in their path: trees, buildings, anything. Being caught in an avalanche is terrifying and often fatal. Snow buries you. You don't know which way is up. You can't breathe. You can't move. Most avalanche victims die of asphyxiation, buried under the snow. Those who recreate in avalanche terrain carry beacons, probes, shovels, and they study avalanche safety, because winter in the mountains commands respect. Icicles form when melting snow refreezes. During the day, if temperatures rise above freezing, snow on a roof begins to melt. Water runs down, reaches the edge, where it's colder, and freezes, drips, freezes again, each drip adding to the icicle. Over time, they grow, sometimes several feet long. They're beautiful, sparkling in sunlight, but also dangerous. Large icicles can break off, fall, injure people below. In some places, building codes require ice guards to prevent ice and snow from sliding off roofs. Icicles remind us, even winter's beauty has an edge, a potential for harm. Respect it, admire from a safe distance. Snow can squeak or crunch underfoot, depending on temperature. At warmer temperatures, near freezing, snow is soft, quiet, compresses easily. But at very cold temperatures, below about 14 degrees Fahrenheit, snow crystals become brittle. When you step on them, they break, fracture. The sound is a squeak or crunch. The colder it is, the higher pitched the squeak. It's caused by the actual breaking of ice crystals, millions of tiny fractures all at once. So when you walk on snow and it squeaks, you know it's very cold. The snow is telling you, communicating in its own language. Winter is a season of contrasts: light and dark, life and death, activity and rest. Outside, harsh, cold, unforgiving. Inside, warm, safe, comforting. The contrast defines winter, makes it what it is. We wouldn't appreciate warmth without cold, wouldn't value light without darkness. Winter teaches us to notice, to pay attention, to appreciate. The steam rising from your coffee, the glow of a fire, the softness of a blanket. These things exist year-round, but in winter, we notice them. Winter sharpens our senses, our gratitude, our awareness. Some philosophers consider winter a metaphor for life's later stages. Spring is youth, summer is maturity, autumn is middle age, and winter, old age, the final season. But this metaphor has limitations. Winter is not just decline, it's rest, preparation, preservation. Seeds lie dormant, but they're alive, waiting. The earth rests, gathers strength, for the explosion of spring growth. Winter is essential, not an ending. A pause, a necessary part of the cycle. Perhaps old age is similar, a time for rest, for reflection, for sharing wisdom. Not an ending, a transition, part of the larger cycle of life. Climate change is affecting winter. Winters are warming in many places. Snowfall patterns are changing. Some areas receive more snow, some less. The timing shifts. Ice cover on lakes forms later, melts earlier. Permafrost thaws. Glaciers retreat. These changes affect ecosystems. Animals adapted to cold. Plants that require winter chill. They affect human activities. Winter tourism, ice roads, traditional practices. The changes are measurable, real, ongoing. Winter, as we've known it, is changing. What this means for the future, we're still discovering. But it reminds us, nothing is permanent. Everything shifts, evolves, changes, even the seasons themselves. Winter gives us time. Time to rest, time to reflect, time to be still. In the natural world, this is obvious. Trees don't grow in winter. Many animals hibernate. Life slows. In human society, we often resist this. We stay busy, keep the same pace, year-round. But maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we should honor winter's invitation to slow down, to do less, to be more, to read that book, take that nap, have that long conversation. Winter gives us permission to rest, to restore ourselves, so that when spring comes, we're ready, renewed, full of energy. There's a concept in Japanese aesthetics called wabi-sabi, the appreciation of imperfection, impermanence, incompleteness. Winter landscapes embody this: bare trees, fallen leaves, withered grasses, things in their natural state of decay, of transition. Not the lush perfection of summer, but something different, something deeper. The beauty of things as they are, not as we might want them to be. Winter teaches wabi-sabi, teaches us to find beauty in starkness, in simplicity, in impermanence. A single bird, a bare branch, footprints in snow. These are enough, more than enough. They are perfect in their imperfection. Every winter is unique. No two winters are exactly the same. Different amounts of snow, different temperatures, different patterns. Some winters are harsh, brutal, testing. Others are mild, gentle, almost spring-like. Each winter has its own character, its own story. And you're different each winter too. Different age, different circumstances, different perspective. The winter you experience as a child, full of wonder and play, is not the same winter you experience as an adult or as an elder. Winter changes, you change, but the cycle continues. Always another winter, always another spring. Winter always ends, no matter how long, no matter how cold, no matter how dark. Winter always ends. The Earth continues its orbit. The tilt of its axis shifts. The sun's angle changes. And one day, you notice, the light is different. The air is different. The snow begins to melt. Birds return. Buds form on trees. Winter's grip loosens, releases. And spring, inevitable, impossible to stop, arrives. This is the promise, the certainty, the hope that carries us through winter's darkest days. Winter will end, spring will come, life will return, as it always has, as it always will. And so, we've completed our journey. 100 facts about winter, about snow and ice, about animals and plants, about human culture and tradition, about beauty and danger, about darkness and light, about endings and beginnings. Winter is many things: cold, beautiful, harsh, peaceful, challenging, restful. It's a season of contrasts, of contradictions, of complexity. But above all, winter is part of the cycle, essential, necessary, sacred. Without winter, there would be no spring, no renewal, no rebirth. Winter teaches us patience, resilience, gratitude, appreciation. It teaches us to find warmth in community, light in darkness, beauty in simplicity. It teaches us that nothing lasts forever. Not the cold, not the snow, not even the longest night. Everything changes, everything passes, everything transforms. And this, perhaps, is winter's greatest gift: the reminder that darkness is temporary, that light returns, that life continues. Even in the coldest, darkest moments, spring is coming. Hope is not lost. It's simply waiting beneath the snow, ready to emerge. So as you drift off to sleep tonight, let these winter stories rest gently in your mind. Let them become part of your dreams. Ice crystals forming in clouds, snow falling softly, animals curled in their dens, trees standing silent under stars. Winter in all its mystery, all its beauty, all its wisdom. Rest now, sleep deeply. Dream of snow and stillness, of frost and firelight, of the quiet magic that is winter. And know that somewhere on this turning earth, winter is happening. Snow is falling, ice is forming. Life is adapting, surviving, waiting. The cycle continues, always. Good night. Let winter's peace settle over you like falling snow. Let these stories become part of your dreams. And when you wake, may you carry with you winter's lessons: patience, resilience, appreciation, hope. Until then, sleep well, sleep deeply. Good night.